Welcome to This Week in Habsland. I am Jordan and he is Brian, and we are here to discuss the first round playoff matchup between your Montreal Canadiens and the Tampa Bay Lightning. You can find us on social media at HabslandPod. Brian, for the second straight year, the Montreal Canadiens have made the playoffs and will once again be underdogs against a bigger and more experienced team, and we are here to do our best to kind of preview it and observe every angle. As a scheduling reminder, we're going to shift like we did last year, where we're going to go post-game after every game. We're going to put out maybe a 20 to 30 minute, depending on, truthfully, whether they win or lose. The episode's probably longer if they win. But 20 to 30 minute episode after every game. We'll hopefully have it out there about an hour or so after the game. That is our attempt and our promise, we hope, throughout the entirety of the playoffs. We hope that schedule goes through June. It will destroy Brian and mine's schedule in terms of our sleep, but whatever, it'll be worth it.
Who needs sleep? It's playoff time.
Yeah. So, Brian, setting aside the obvious, what is different about this Habs team that barely made the playoffs last year with 91 points, which would have not been enough to make the East playoffs this year, and the team that we just saw over the past month cruise its way into a playoff spot with well over 100 points?
What is different? And you said don't use the obvious. Is the obvious my crutch of saying we don't have Christian Dvorak anymore? Is that you're basically saying I can't just use that? So Dvorak gone, Savard gone. Like the roster from last season, drastically different. Patrick Laine in the lineup. He will not be in the playoffs. He's still on the roster technically, but he won't be there. So there's a huge amount of change of personnel. But I want to put that aside. I don't care about the change of personnel so much as I care about the growth of the players who are still here. And when you look at what's going to really come into play in this series, and we'll get into the details and the specifics of how the Canadiens did against the Lightning this year and what allowed for that, but little sneak preview, spoiler alert, the top line had a lot to say about it, and then add Demidov to that. And so all four of those guys are unbelievably better than they were last year. So that's number one. I think that your core of incredibly talented players is just that much better. And they're more confident. And I think that's the second point that I want to address. They are more confident, and the team in general is more confident. If you limp into the playoffs with 91 points and then you go up against the top seed in your conference, how much confidence can you really possibly have? Especially it's your first time in the playoffs during a rebuild. You haven't been there in several years. Most of your core has never seen a playoff game. And if they did, it was in that run that you lost, and it's a completely different team now, and you don't have Price and Weber anymore. And that the confidence now after such a successful season, and especially being one of the best teams of recent history of this season, I think that confidence is massive. So to me, those are the two big things. There's about 20 others, and I bet you're going to run a bunch through right now. But to me, those are the two standouts. The confidence of the team as a unit, the confidence Marty has in them at being able to play anybody anywhere, and then obviously just the skill and talent of those top 3-4 talented players and their growth since last year.
So I really just had this question here to you may or may not have known the question ahead of time, depending whether or not you looked in our Google Doc, but it was really just a kind of a gut check of like, hey, what's better? Like what really, like at a snapshot at this very moment before the playoffs start,
right? What's
different? And your answer, like what was coming to mind as you were speaking of it, is like they continued a linear growth path this year. That they continued. They went from, step 4 to step 5 of whatever they're doing. They just got consistently better across the board. A lot of the young guys continued to get better. And then, you mentioned the confidence. That's part of it, right? That's the part of it that, like, when Cole Caulfield's on the ice, he feels like he can score a game-winning goal for you. And that is an important thing, too. Like, we're going to, we have seen this team in big moments in the regular season, certainly over the last 2 years, and a little bit in the postseason, of course, last year, rise to the occasion. And this is yet another test. But I asked the question because I'm genuinely curious in this snapshot before the playoffs, before the puck drop, how we feel about this team. And we remember this feeling before we go into a playoff matchup, because the playoffs are chaotic. The playoffs teach us so much about a team. And importantly, the playoffs have a huge impact on how you decide to move forward with your franchise, with your team. Setting aside something really weird, and unfortunately one of those weird things is a Noah Dobson injury.
Yes.
Like what happens over the next 2, 4, 6 weeks, whatever, maybe more, has a huge impact on what we're doing. So I wanted to ask the question of just purely like gut check, what's different? Personnel's changed. there's still some issues. The power play has been good. The penalty kill has been trending up. Goaltending is as strong as it's ever been in the past, like in a post Carey Price era. It's the strongest it's ever been this recent stretch, especially considering like how hard the games were and how important they were. So yeah, I just, I wanted to check in on it. Let's dive into it. So as of recording, we don't know the schedule, which is really annoying. What we do know, Habs are likely playing early evening, let's say Sunday, game 1. And then I think there's enough reporting that I'm confident to say that it's Tuesday around 7 or 7:30 is game 2. After that, we don't know. There's rumors of a Friday, Sunday, which is a travesty if that's what they do and don't put a Saturday night playoff game at the Bell Center. After everyone rants and raves and the players vote that this is the best arena in the NHL and you don't give them Saturday night, whatever. I blame ESPN and TNT. So we don't totally know the schedule. It's going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be a little bit drawn out, which is, by the way, an effect of ESPN and TNT taking over and having the US rights. They are doing the same thing they've done to the NBA, where the first round specifically, Brian, can sometimes get expanded into 14, 15, or even 16 days. Whereas old school hockey 5, 10, 20 years ago, you might play a first round like 7 games in 12 days. You might have a back-to-back. Those days are dead now with ESPN and TNT more or less controlling the calendar. Does that help the Habs with the Noah Dobson stuff? Maybe. We don't know.
Oh, interesting. I thought you were getting at the question of like youth versus experience. Who needs the rest more? And it's experience all the way. So that's advantage Tampa. But you're right. Maybe Dobson arrives for games 6 and 7 if all goes well. But keep in mind that 2-week thing was just when he was going to be checked on again. It's not like he's back in 2 weeks. It was, and whatever. We're about a week and a half from finding out what the deal is there. So, yeah, that's a big one.
Not hopeful.
No, I'm not either. I'm not either. It's hard to be when such an integral part of your team goes down like that.
Okay, so let's get into the series. Let's do a bit of an overview of how these teams perform. And I'm going to do the same exercise we did last year with Washington, which I thought really helped. So we're going to look at special teams. We're going to look at 5-on-5, and we're going to look at goaltending. At a high level, we'll have an actual discussion. I'm not just going to blurt out numbers for the next 30 minutes. Power play. Tampa Bay's net power play, 16th in the NHL. Canadiens were 7th. However, post-Olympics, both of them are in a slump. Tampa Bay's down to 25th post-Olympics. Habs are down to 13th. We know the recent struggles they've had. Penalty kill. Tampa has been very strong throughout the course of the year. 5th overall, 12th since the Olympics. Canadiens have been the opposite. They were 18th overall for the season and a real jump up to 8th. I want to come back to that, Brian. Hold me to it. That's special teams. Tying into special teams. How many penalties you taken? And this, to Brian, to me was the first, oh my God, this might dictate the series. Penalties taken per 60. First in the NHL, Tampa Bay. Whole season post-Olympics. Canadiens, penalties taken, again, 4th and 5th, full season post-Olympics. Penalties drawn, first in the NHL, Tampa Bay. Montreal, 3rd. Canadiens since the Olympics, 1st. Tampa Bay since the Olympics, 2nd. So, let's stop there. We know about the physical stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to put a pin in that,
Yeah.
because I think that's the other part. Is this going to be a special teams decided series?
Special teams, goaltending. I would rather it be a special teams series just because of how dominant Kucherov is at 5-on-5. Not that we don't have our own amazing players, but the less you can have Kucherov matching up against your weaker lines, especially when they have home ice, and they do 4 out of 7, the better, I think, especially because their power play's gone cold and their penalty kill kicks butt. Our penalty kill lately has kicked butt. I will gladly put our special teams up against theirs any day of the week. Literally the only wild card that helps them is Vasilevsky. Vasilevsky as your penalty killing goaltender, as your goalie in general, is amazing, but it's such a trope, but I'm going to use it because it's true. Your goaltender is often your best penalty killer. And Vasilevsky on the penalty kill just kicks butt. He's a huge dude who moves across his crease real well. So those one-timers sliding across the danger zone, he can get to. To address the question itself, I think absolutely this will be something of a special teams battle. As you did that giant analysis of what happens in the postseason with the refs, quote-unquote, putting their whistles away, you found that it actually doesn't really happen until later. The first round is very similar to the last few weeks of the season, which we'll see. I mean, the refereeing in general in the NHL is inconsistent, so whether that's the case or not this season, we will see. I think that bodes well for the Canadiens. Do you see that as well? or am I being unfairly biased to the team I love?
So last year in the playoffs, the Canadiens had 15 power play opportunities in 5 games, scored 5 goals. So it's 3 per game. We're expecting some type of shift. The part where I'm always worried about, and again, I referenced last year's numbers because maybe that like cools my jets on the concern level, is I feel like this power play is very easy to game plan against. So Tampa Bay is going to be crunching tape now for the last week about how to stop this Habs power play, which has not been the best over the last month or so.
Right.
This is an incredibly streaky power play. We probably could have spent like a segment early this season, or not early, in the last maybe month or so, of the stretches they go through where it feels like at times they're like 4 for their last 9 and then they go 0 for 11. It's a very on again, off again type of power play. And I do wonder with that. Now it's very much the same guys from last year in the postseason, and they were quite good on the power play. And at times that was their only means of offense once Washington really crushed them halfway through. I guess it was really towards the end of game 3 and all of game 4 and 5, where they just annihilated the Canadiens at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
The power play was the lifeline. So yeah, I mean, the Vasilevsky stuff is interesting. Let me put these numbers in here as well. 5-on-5 save percentage. This one threw me for a bit of a loop. Full season, Tampa 12th, Canadiens 15th. You expect the Canadiens kind of jumped back up again. This is at 5-on-5, not including power play penalty kill. Since the Olympics, Tampa was 23rd and the Montreal Canadiens are 6th. Now, with the Canadiens one is not surprising. We've watched this team since the Marco Marciano promotion. The Jakub Dobes has been incredible. Jacob Fowler has been really consistent, really good backup goaltender. Tampa Bay has been struggling in this sense. And I think if you look at Tampa's game, they're going to get, punked every 6 or 7 games, and maybe that with a small sample size of 22 games or whatever. And I should say these numbers are not necessarily updated as of the last game of the season for Tampa Bay. I did it before that, so maybe they've changed a little bit, although they lost that game, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But generally, you view Vasilevsky as a huge trump card for the Lightning, and I still think that's the case, but it's really in relationship to power plays, penalty kill, the whole ecosystem. The other stuff I wanted to go over just quickly: shooting percentage, incredible stuff. First and second in the NHL going against each other. Canadiens were first at 5-on-5 shoot percentage. We know this. This is a team that doesn't shoot the puck enough, but it's because they're super picky.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is second in the NHL. They're not as picky, but they're second in 5-on-5 shot percentage. Since the Olympics, 3rd and 4th. Habs 3rd, Tampa Bay 4th, so no one's really cooled off here. The last ones are the puck possession stuff, which we know are really hairy for the Canadiens year over year. This is really something Marty has not figured out. Now 4 or 5 years into his career, it's just really not changed. 5-on-5 shot attempt percentage, which is something related to puck possession, although there are better metrics nowadays. Canadiens are 25th in the NHL, Tampa's 3rd. If you want to just look at expected goals, which theoretically might be a bit more forgiving for the Canadiens, it's not. They're still 25th. Tampa is 5th. I also looked at high danger scoring attempts or high danger Corsi percentage. The Canadiens number doesn't really change. So it's not, by any of the common publicly available metrics, the Canadiens are just not a puck possession team in any capacity. We know the reasons why. Tampa Bay is. So that's, if we're starting to get worried, it's, you already mentioned him earlier, it's Kucherov.
Right.
It's the Habs getting killed at 5-on-5, specifically on the road, I think.
And it's getting hemmed in for 2.5 minutes at a time, which I don't know if this is recency bias or not, but did this happen about 4 dozen times this past week, Jordan? Just getting hemmed in our own zone with often Struble and or Jackeye on the ice. It happened to Engstrom too. It happened to literally everybody got hemmed in at one point. Probably not the top line, but everybody else got hemmed in. And then you're in a 7-game series against a team that's just going to kick the shit out of you, just try and beat you down. And then you have to spend 2.5 minutes in your zone defending against Kucherov or Point and or Cirelli, like Hagel. They have a lot of guys who are just possession monsters. And so there's a few things that tire you out. That's one of those things that just tires you out like crazy. Being hemmed in your zone on no fuel left in your tank. You want to just go sit down on the bench, have a drink of water, and yet you have to block passes heading Kucherov's way. Like that honestly is probably the most frightening part about facing this team, is because that's a demon that the Canadiens have had for a lot of the year, getting hemmed in their own zone. And it's one that has resurfaced recently really badly. Now, is that because the foot got taken off the gas. Something happened when the Habs clinched, and call it resting the important dudes, call it whatever you want. I didn't love that the energy with which they used to clinch was not kept over the past week and a half, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but obviously when the playoffs come, that's going to go away, but I really didn't like seeing them get hemmed in that much. Like, it just brought back bad memories.
It's a constant for sure. And I want to get into it when we get into the defensive lineup, because you mentioned Jack and Struble. There's going to be some things that Marty needs to do, specifically in second periods in Tampa Bay, where he's going to have to, like, I think we're going to see some of the most wild time on ice distribution in those specific scenarios.
Right.
Because it's going to be very, very scary stuff. Before we really, really go in, one more overview. The injuries. We mentioned Noah Dobson. Really bad. This sucks. This really, really sucks.
Yeah.
It's, like you mentioned earlier, it's reevaluated, let's say around game 4. And the reevaluation is basically going to be like, hey, man, are you able to play with a broken hand without making it worse? Or wrist, or whatever he broke. I guess it's a wrist. They obviously haven't announced it, but like, and I just don't think I think he's done for at least the series. So that sucks. Alex Carrier skated full contact on Thursday morning. Seems like he is on the table to play in game 1. On the other side, Victor Hedman is away for personal leave. Completely unclear whether or not he's going to be available at any point in the series. They still have a bunch of killers on the back end led by Darren Radish. The rest of their forwards seem to more or less all be back, except for Pontus Holmberg, who is not an insignificant piece of the bottom 6. But their top 6 are a bunch of murderers who are seemingly healthy enough. They're like playoff healthy, I think is how I would frame most of those guys. Some of those guys are probably fully healthy. But the top 6, I think, is fully ready to go. The bottom 6, again, Holmberg's out, which is not insignificant. I think it's very equivalent to like a Josh Anderson not being available.
Yep.
From terms of like effectiveness and importance in your bottom 6, but I think that's advantage Tampa Bay from an injury perspective. They seem to have enough of their guys back, and Noah Dobson being out for what is likely the whole series is a huge, huge blow.
Isn't that nuts that they're missing Victor Hedman, and yet you and I both believe that the Habs have been more impacted by injuries? Like, they're missing one of the top 5 defensemen of the past 10 years, and yet we're like, oh shoot, we're the ones who are injured.
Yeah.
And obviously his isn't an injury, it's personal reasons. But anyway, like, the Dobson thing, I don't know that there's a more important member of the D-Corps, and you're going to scoff at this because everybody's going to say Lane Hudson, but Dobson does things that nobody else on the D-Corps does, and losing him may be the most important defenseman that the Canadiens could have lost.
I would disagree and say Lane Hudson, but I don't think you're like,
I'm not nuts to say that though.
No
one blocked more shots. No one got into more passing lanes. Like, he's such an important defensive player who just eats up minutes and does not burn you. Who do you play 25 minutes instead of Dobson?
So let's do this. We were going to start with the forwards. Let's start with the defensemen. It's so critical right now because I think the lines 2 through 4 is a bit of a head scratcher right now with what Marty's doing.
Yeah.
But I don't think that necessarily loses you the series. It could win you the series if he finds the right formula with lines 2, 3, and 4. But the defense, look, again, it's just shit luck. That's what it is, man. Like, you lost your second best defenseman, maybe your most important versatility wise, who's on the power play, who's on the penalty kill, who's really great at 5-on-5, who's a right-handed shot. Like, he hits all the like not intangible, but like specific requirements. You know, it's like when you're filling out something and like, does he have this? Does he do this? You check literally all the boxes because he can do everything. Okay, so how do we start this? Let's maybe start with Alex Carrier. My worry with Carrier coming back into the lineup is I think there is a direct correlation with the penalty kill going way up since he got injured.
Whoa, shots fired, Jordan.
And what did that also coincide with? That was Noah Dobson going back to PK1. That was implementing Caden Gooley and chucking him at the penalty kill 2 role. And all of a sudden, also Lane Hudson was playing some penalty kill, which I don't love. Jaden Struble was getting out there. Like, Marty was just throwing everything against the wall for a while.
Yeah.
But like, I think that's huge. I think the penalty kill, what was the stat I brought up earlier? The penalty kill is 8th in the NHL since the Olympics, and Carrier has missed a good chunk of time. And I'm sure if we even did a demarcation at the point where Carrier gets hurt, it might be even better.
Wow.
So That's kind of the first place where I get worried. If we're doing, again, back to special teams, these are teams that draw penalties, that take penalties, we're expecting a really, really physical series to start at least. Not having Dobson in there really hurts. So let's see who's drawing in, right? So we're writing down some names, right? Obviously, Gouli, Matheson, Hudson, duh. Of
course.
And we can talk about who's playing with who. Is it ridiculous to say that the other three guys, two of them have to be David Reinbacher and Arbor Xhekaj? And then you pick your 6. If Carey is healthy, you put him as 6. If he's not, Struble goes to 6. Or am I really just disrespecting Jaden Struble, who has, been part of playing decent hockey for the last month or so, mostly as Lane Hutson's partner?
Look, it's based on merit, so you're not disrespecting him. You're adequately representing what he's capable of. Putting Xhekaj in above him is not necessarily for defensive play. It's for protecting his boys from Corey Perry running after a 5'10" defenseman who's crucial to your lineup. Xhekaj is going to be instrumental in keeping that geriatric piece of crap away from Lane Hutson and away from other, like, this octogenarian is just going to run around knocking guys behind he's made a career out of waiting till the referee turns his head and then doing something nasty. That's what he does. Yep. And in the playoffs, you get away with even more. So Xhekaj, from that perspective, I think he has to be in the lineup. Reinbacher is interesting.
I'll stop you there for a second.
Please. Yeah.
I like the theory that Xhekaj is going to play the first 2 games, and then when they come home, they're going to scratch him. Because it's going to be so physical at this jump that you need Xhekaj in there to kind of settle it all down. Because if we look at the last couple games, so you put in the Google Doc like 128 penalty minutes or something.
Yeah, that last game was nuts.
Played. You need Arbor Xhekaj in this game. Of
course.
And he has been honestly good enough these last few weeks. And maybe it's because it's a bit more his type of hockey where every single whistle there's a scrum. Yeah. And now we're seeing the intangibles of Arbor Xhekaj really come out to shine. We only got to play playoffs, man. He's going to play 10 minutes. But I kind of like it's a conspiracy theory that Xhekaj will play games 1 and 2, and then you probably draw in Engstrom, Struble, Reinbacher, whoever is the scratch, presuming maybe Struble is playing.
Right.
Yeah.
So Engstrom, to me, if I could jump to this quickly, Engstrom to me is the one I would put the least amount of percentage points on. Just from I haven't looked at his analytics specifically. I don't think there would be merit in it anyway because it's such a small sample size. He just got here. He just eye test wise has looked the most nervous, for lack of a better term, which fair enough. He's a kid. I'm not, this isn't me crapping on a guy. This is just me saying he may not be ready. What's fascinating about that statement is I don't feel that way with Reinbacher, and he just played his first NHL game. Engstrom only got it a couple months prior, I guess. So it's not that massive a difference in terms of experience at all. Reinbacher's also a right-hand shot who, to me, has not looked nervous. He's looked ready and poised to be there, not without his errors. They happen, but Reinbacher looks more ready than Engstrom. Correct me if I'm wrong.
He does, but if you want to continue the PK Subban career arc, he can't come in until game 6. That's kind of where we're stuck with.
Yeah, but I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him at 32 years old for the New Jersey Devils, just not able to skate anymore. That's
if we get a Norris Trophy in 4 years, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm just making the jokes because I find it funny. Reinbacher's now played 2 games, and PK Subban played 2 games in 2010.
Okay.
And he suits up in game 6 against Washington, and immediately is an absolute killer. Right-handed shot, was in his D+3 year. Just saying, a lot of similarities are forming.
Well, I'll throw you another similarity. 5th overall pick, plays 2 games, and then enters the playoffs. Who does that remind you of? That happened last year, Demidov.
Yeah, I agree.
So
okay, so here's the real thing, though.
Yeah.
How are you distributing Matheson, Hudson, and Gouli, and how many minutes, especially if
34,
if the schedule,
34, 33 minutes. That's what I want to give those guys.
I don't think it's inconceivable that the floor for Matheson and Hudson specifically is about 26 minutes.
Okay, look, Gouli, I have not looked at this in advance. I'm looking right now to further this point at... Oh, geez, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Brian, come on, wake up. Where is it? The most recent game we played against Tampa. Care to guess? I have not looked at this. Here we go. Got it in front of me, finally. Apologies. Time on ice. Hudson, Matheson, Dobson here because Gouli was out. But replace Gouli for Dobson because he basically is now.
29 Matheson, 28 Hudson, 26 Dobson.
Not hugely far off. Hudson 29 and a bit, Matheson almost 26, Dobson 23. It's actually a little bit less than I thought, but like,
yeah,
that's what we're going to see.
that.
Because Struble played 11, Engstrom played 9, and Jackeye played 9.
I think that's what we're going to be getting, especially on the road. Like, these guys are not taking defensive zone draws, especially if they get that extra day off after game 2.
Right.
Which
yeah,
is
yeah.
The what we were talking about earlier, that they're going to get played Tuesday and then not again until Friday. It sucks. Again, it's really sucks that you finally have what we think is a mostly healthy, knock on wood, Caden Gooley, and you lose Noah Dobson. Because otherwise, then you have your 4 horsemen, and then it's like 4 guys playing 23 minutes a night. I still think Hudson, Matheson are hitting 26 every game.
Yeah.
And Dobson and Gooley would have been in the 23 to 21 zone. Gooley a little bit lower. But it's interesting. So let's what do you think the pairings end up being? Game 1. Is it Matheson Gooley first pairing, Hudson Struble second pairing, and then Jackeye Carrier, I guess?
Probably. I say probably because I just can't think of a better option. I know that's the boring, like, they've been doing that option, but that, like, what else can you roll with? I think that if you alter that too much, especially like what a lot of people would suggest is put your 2 weakest defensemen together and have them just like not play a lot, which you could technically argue that's already what it is, but like I don't think Struble is the 4th best defenseman.
So we just said what we think is going to happen, which I agree with. I think it'll be Matheson Gooley, Hudson Struble, Jackeye Carrier. What I would prefer, and I recognize why this is hard to do as a coach, is still Matheson Gooley, Hudson Carrier, Jackeye Reinbacher. Give me some righties.
Yeah.
Just for some versatility.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks for Jaden Struble, but I mean, it is what it is at this point. It's honestly, if Dobson was healthy, he's probably in the lineup, weirdly enough. But I need more righties in there. I think you're right. Engstrom's, I don't think, close to this, especially with Carrier healthy or very, very close to healthy. But it's a weakness. You have 3 guys you trust. You really need Caden Gooley to stay healthy, and you're going to ride those guys. They're going to play, 25 minutes on average, the 3 of them combined.
And don't think for a second that Tampa has not circled in a giant black marker on their board, susceptible to injury, Caden Gooley. Like, attack this guy with hits all series. That's what they're saying. And they're going to do the same with Hudson and everybody else on the D-core. But Gooley's the one who's susceptible to injury. And as the Florida Panthers have made it known in the NHL, that's how you win. Yep. You be violent, you hurt people, you knock them out of the series. And then, oh, look, we're matching up Kucherov now against Engstrom and Struble. Your 7th and 8th defensemen now have to play 10 minutes each because we've hurt 2 of your guys. So, like, yes, they'll play a lot. For yet another reason, Jackeye needs to just be so forceful, and like, you cannot do this. Like, literally cross-checking Kucherov in the back of the head if Tampa gets out of hand. Like, that has to be what Tampa's afraid of.
Can we let's jump into the mind of the enemy, as disgusting as that might be. You just mentioned, I don't like the word targeting. It sounds predatory to me, and some people might say, yes, it's because it is. But I'm saying I am uncomfortable with the term targeting. If you are the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are you focusing on hitting through the boards every single time? You already mentioned Lane Hudson. He's number 1, right? He has to be number 1.
Yeah.
He is the biggest game breaker on the entire team. I think we saw last year with Washington, you can't really bother with Suzuki. It's not going to phase him, and he's built like a brick house.
No, I was watching highlights of Matthew Tkachuk trying to hit Crosby. Like, there was a compilation of Matthew Tkachuk just running through huge dudes, and then he comes up to 5'11" Crosby, and Crosby knocks him down.
Yeah.
And I was picturing Suzuki in this series being like, So Suzuki's off the table. They might try with Hudson. What I love about it being Hudson and
they will. They will try with Hudson,
I should say. What I like about it being Hudson and definitely Caulfield is that they are 2 just connivingly sneaky guys who end up being able to dodge 9 out of 10 checks. So that they will be impervious to a lot of it, which is nice. I think anybody who's had injury trouble, so Gooley's going to be a massive target.
So you haven't said the 2 names. After Hudson, I would say Slavkovsky and Demidov. Those would be the 2 guys that I would.
So Demidov is up there. Why Slav? Why Slav?
because I think you can get him riled up. It's not to like beat the crap out of Slavkovsky.
Oh,
You can't.
okay. I thought you
It's
meant like
mind
trying to
games.
hurt people because that's what
mean,
that's what the
both,
Florida
right?
teams do.
But it's both, right? With Hudson, it's more
Right.
that.
Yeah.
With Slavkovsky, I think it's more get in his head.
Well,
And sometimes it's a bit of both.
let me jump to this. In all of the Tampa Bay and Montreal matchups, Slavkovsky is the MVP of both teams. 7 points, 4 goals, 3 assists.
Yeah. That's
Absolute.
even more of the reason why.
Absolutely.
And then Demidov, because you need to crush his spirit, and then like you cannot let the second line get going if you're Tampa Bay.
Right.
You know what the first line's going to do. And I don't know if they're going to do any matchup stuff. Like, are you going to put the Braden Point line up against Suzuki? Or do you just basically say we're rolling either the Cirelli line or the Point line anytime Suzuki's out there? And they just have to deal with our firepower. The
Right.
Cirelli, Hagel, Kucherov has a 61% expected goal percentage. Point, Gensel, and Gonsalves, 65% expected. These are diabolical
Yeah,
top sixes.
Really
Or
good.
top six.
Really good.
Is that how you do it? Or do you like
Well,
try to just, I guess you can't pester them with like Nick Paul and Semgus Girkinson and stuff like that, right?
the top line?
gotta
No. It's one of the two lines. It's Cirelli or Point, or else you're getting demolished. And that's the one saving grace that we have as Canadiens fans is like they have to use one of their two really good lines to counter our good line, or else they're screwed.
Yeah.
The other silver lining you could look at is that even Martin St. Louis, I don't think, knows what he's doing with the bottom 9, and we'll get to that shortly. So how
Yeah.
could Tampa even prepare for that? Like, what is?
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's that?
That
I don't know
is-
if there's definitely an expression for it, but how can your opponent know what you're thinking if you don't even know what you're thinking?
Sure. I absolutely love this as an intentional theory, and definitely not Marty being like, it's game 76. I'm going to start demoting Oliver Kapanen and see what that does to the bottom 9. Let's get into the bottom 9.
Which it was on that point. It was time. It was time for Kapanen. Good season. Good rookie season, but it was time.
I will say, like, I did really like Demidov's pushback when out of the gate post Olympics. You saw Oliver Kapanen didn't have it, and for a moment we're like, "Uh-oh, Demidov, is it happening to him too?" And he was like, "Nope, I'm good.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll keep producing." And that you see the differentiators of what will be ultimately a great hockey player who is currently 20 years old. Okay, so this bottom 9, sorry. I don't like where St. Louis seems to have landed, which is Newhook, Demidov, Texier. And then you have let's call it a fourth line of Phil Deneau, Josh Anderson, and I guess Joe Veleno. Like, that's fine, honestly.
Okay.
It's the other line that, to me, I guess Jake Evans has to be there, not Joe Veleno. To me, it's this Kapanen, Bolduc, Doc, flipping in Gallagher. If there's a line like that, to me, that's a black hole. And that's what they practiced with on Thursday. It was Kapanen, Doc, Bolduc. Gallagher, as far as I know, didn't skate. I think it's going to be weird if they scratch Brendan Gallagher in game 1. I don't think it's off the table.
I don't know that it's not off the table. Like, I think it's off the table.
Okay.
And that's, I can hear you all at home saying, stop glossing Brendan Gallagher again, you oaf. But like, what he's given to this team and what he did in the final game of the season that absolutely mattered, and he seemed like the most awake member of the entire Canadiens roster, he earned his spot against Philly. Do you not agree? He scored the goal to give them energy in the second period. They were lifeless prior to that. Like, it took Brendan Gallagher scoring that goal before they woke up, and then obviously, like, the wind kind of goes out of the sails with Mitchkov's unassisted beauty. But like, I don't know, Matt. Like, I don't think you can do that to Gally, number one, and I think that he earned it with his play recently. Like, the whole reason that they've been scratching him recently is to prepare for playoffs, is it not?
Theoretically, but I think part of it has to be merit based as well. He's gonna play in game 1. He's gonna play, but like, they never like Newhook. I think for this season, Alex Newhook has earned his role on the second line. He is the second line center. That's going to be happening with Demidov. And he's played well enough. I don't think that's a long-term solution. People know my thoughts on Alex Newhook. Your third line, ideally, is Jake Evans, Josh Anderson, and Alex Texier. That's a third line to me.
Yeah, that one
would
works.
work.
Yeah.
Now, there's a gaping hole on your second line we haven't addressed yet. And then I think your fourth line is something along the lines of Deneau, Joe Veleno, and then I guess Oliver Kapanen. I don't know. Like, here, this is where it starts to go missing. Like, I don't have a good guy for.
Yeah, he's either there or he's on your second line or he's scratched. And I don't think either of those options is better than that. So it's probably Kapanen on the fourth.
Because there's 14 guys, not accounting for Patrick Laine, because he's obviously like, whatever. Shout out to Patrick Laine getting $8.5 million to watch hockey this year. Like, I think Bolduc's going to get scratched. And then the question becomes, which one of Gallagher, Veleno, Doc gets scratched? Because I don't think it's going to be Kapanen. It'd be really weird if suddenly Oliver Kapanen gets scratched in game one.
You know what's nuts, man? It should be Doc for a physicality reason, and he's the big boy. Veleno and Gallagher have more potential to things up and do things for your team energetically than a 6'3" Kirby Doc, 6'4" even potential. I don't remember, but like he's well over 6 feet, big dude. It might be. It's Doc.
Not happening with him. It's not happening with him this year. It's just injuries mess you up. They do. And they change the way sometimes you play hockey and the confidence you have going into corners, making contact. You just said he's not physical enough. The man has gotten hurt all the time.
Yeah, of course.
Now, some of that's bad luck. Some of that might just be like the same guys getting hurt all the time can't be a coincidence. Him and Gouli, prime examples. But like for right now, you're right. It should be him. It should be Danault, Veleno, Doc.
Yeah.
Right? Or I don't know, maybe you flip him with Texier or something and like you have Doc, Anderson, Evans, and that's just I'm just recreating Heineman and Armia. I
don't actually mind that one that much.
But he hasn't proven it consistently enough to be bottom six, Kirby Doc, winning pucks, dump and chase, hitting bodies, back. Like it hasn't happened. Maybe it happens in the offseason, and maybe Michael Hage not signing for the Canadiens, which we don't have to get into today. We were thinking maybe we'd do it. I think we're gonna run too long. But like Michael Hage not signing with the Habs means there's space now, maybe for a 1-year extension for Kirby Doc, but it's not as a center anymore. It's as a bottom six guy.
Yeah.
So I'm worried. I mean, it's no surprise here. Someone has to play with Newhook and Demidov. It seems like it's Texier. I really like Alex Texier in the bottom six. I don't like him as a second line winger.
Okay. So
I don't think that's the responsibility it should be on. And I don't think that's a good, there's not enough oomph with him and Newhook to help support Demidov. Because just like 12 months ago, we were asking at the beginning, hey, what's changed from 12 months ago? You know what hasn't? Someone has to do something to help Demidov in the playoffs. That literally, with Jake Evans finished as the second line center last year because we were like, what the hell are we doing here? Yeah. Same story this year.
And even that this season would not be nuts. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
in terms of these matchups. Actually, convince me that's not the best iteration of the top six. Convince me that's not what it is. Evans, Demidov, Newhook on the left. Newhook's not at center, obviously. It's Jake Evans. And then you can match up against the point line, and you can match up against the Cirelli line. It's your two top lines against their two top lines, and then let the bottom sixes just have fun. Just play shinny.
So Veleno back to center, which is fine.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Danault third line. You get Texier back on the third. Hey, we're cooking with gas here.
Right? Let's be clear. It's not going to happen. Right. I think Kapanen back on the second line is more likely than this.
I think there's a strong likelihood we see him Kapanen back on the second line by the time they come back to Montreal.
If nothing else, this little stint pissed him off.
I hope so.
Exactly. I hope it lit a fire in his belly, and now he's like, screw you, you're never taking me off the second line again. I'm doing the entire playoff run on the second line. I'm going to score goals. I'm the guy for Demidov. We know long-term he's not, but maybe for this season he could be. I said before, I still don't like it, but what other option, what other recourse does Marty have?
I think we just figured it out.
Evans.
I think it's Jake Evans again. To back-to-back years, Jake Evans finishes the year in the top six. I don't hate it. I don't hate
two straight years. Evans, I think that's the story of the rebuilds. I think that's every season at the end of the year. Marty goes, oh, man. All right, Jake. Get the second line. Come on, you could do it.
So true. It's so true. Every year ends with Jake Evans as the second line center. Oh, man. Jake, if he didn't have feet for hands, he'd score 30 goals every year. But what can you do?
Yeah.
So listen. We have our worries here. We talked briefly about the top six on Tampa.
Yeah.
I think we got to come back to it. What the hell do they do defensively? I think John Cooper is a matchup coach. We're going to see one of those two lines have Suzuki every time. It's going to be a brutal matchup for whoever it is. And you might do the thing again, like Cooper might just say we're going to rotate Cirelli point, Cirelli point, Cirelli point. just to like keep throwing different things at the Habs first line.
Sure.
So what is like, Habs have home ice. We just saw Suzuki take a face-off against the Cirelli line. They go up again for 50 seconds. Tampa dumps the puck in. Line change. We see the Braden Point line come on. Who's Marty flipping over the bench now? Like, who is the... It's not like a matchup thing, but like okay, well, Nick's off the board. Who's the next line that's going to kind of come over the boards to deal with Braden Point, Jake Gensel, and Gage Gonsalves?
So it's not I can't speak to a full line because we just went through it and we don't know what they'll be, but it's Jake Evans and whoever the hell he's with. He's the only one I trust to deal with that second line. I don't trust Dano. He doesn't have the foot speed.
Exactly. Okay. We agree on that. I think that's about right. Like,
it's not Kapanen. It's not Veleno. So it's Evans at center. If Anderson is there, that's great. They seem to have something. And then maybe it's Veleno with them.
Yeah, like I don't think Dano is going to take... I think he'll take quite a few defensive zone draws, and I think they're okay with that matchup. If you're in a defensive zone, they're okay with like, okay, the point line is over the boards, we're putting Dano. You're going to see that a lot on the road. If Suzuki's line is just done and the Habs got to call their line first, you're going to see almost exclusively, I would guess, Dano, Veleno, whoever. I guess it would probably be Josh Anderson. I think that's going to be like your de facto second line when it comes to defensive zone faceoffs after Suzuki, Caulfield, Slavkovsky.
They might end up getting more ice time. That might end up being the ice time second line in reality.
Sure.
Because as you said, like the Lightning aren't going to be playing Nick Paul and Connor Geeky's line a lot. So it's not like it's not like you throw out the second line to take advantage of that. You don't throw Demidov out to take advantage of that very often, as much as you're just like, oh man, points on again. Shoot, all right, get on there, Evans.
So let's talk about this component of like the home ice stuff before we start like rounding the corner into prediction time. Okay. Habs didn't get home ice. They're the lower seed here.
Yeah.
Despite, what are they, Brian? They're fourth in the Eastern Conference. I know you wanted to do a bit on this.
Well, just really quick.
Yeah.
Dallas is playing Minnesota in the first round. Second and third place teams in the conference playing each other. The third and fourth place teams are playing each other. Batman, get your head out of your ass and fix this, please. Okay. Sidebar over.
One thing.
Okay.
The whole argument, the counter to this every year is like, why it always changes. It's seasonal, you know. So the next time it's going to be the Metro division that this happens to, and the Atlantic will be the crappy division. I'm not complaining what division it happened to. I'm complaining it happens every year to a different division.
Yes.
I think those people are missing the point. They're like, oh, you're like, but the Atlantic was so bad. Like, it'll happen to the Pacific next year. But that's bad.
That's
we don't
literally,
want it to happen to the
literally the
year.
dumbest shit I've ever. It's like a police captain getting a report that somebody got murdered and going, at least it wasn't the guy who got murdered last week.
Okay. Oh boy. Let's do the home ice. Sorry. Apologies for the digression, but we had to.
That's fine. No, like every year we're going to talk about it until it changes. Yeah. How much would home ice have helped the Canadiens in this matchup?
I think the best way to look at it is the last two games they played against Tampa. In Tampa Bay, Jakub Dobes had to be prime Patrick Roy. At home against Tampa Bay, the Habs were the better team.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't it was a lower event that was very much at the pace the Habs want. Not in terms of like slow. Like the Habs actually prefer a run and gun pace, but they were able to control the pace in that game. And I think the shots basically bore out like 20-20. It was very, very even, whereas they got shellacked in Tampa a week and a half earlier. So I think that is kind of a bit of a blueprint. And we don't often get two really representative games this close to the end of the season for two teams that play each other. The first two games they played this year, chuck them in the garbage. They're useless. But these last two at the end of March and early April, especially one's in Tampa, one's in Montreal, like...
I'm laughing because you're so biased. The two losses, forget about those, but the wins, hell yeah, let's look at those only.
Honestly,
I think it's true though because the
did
team...
Monty play in those games?
Well, so Dobes started one of the losses and then Monty took over. Both had like 7-something save percentage, really bad. Fowler got lit up in the other one, but then Dobes recently played both of those games. Fascinatingly, both wins were versus Vasilevsky with Dobes in net. Both losses were against Jonas Johansson.
Oh,
I would not have guessed that. I was just looking at the matchups before. I was like, really? We beat Vazzy twice and we lost both to Johansson? Obviously, very different Montreal Canadiens team playing in those two instances, injuries and whatever else, but I thought that was kind of fascinating.
So I think the home ice stuff where it'll affect you, because I brought it up because we were starting to talk about like the bottom six for Tampa. The bottom six for Tampa, I think, are going to be quite effective at home and less so effective on the road. Whereas I think the Habs, I don't know if the bottom six will be more effective at home or not, but I think as a whole, the team will play better at home. This is the main thing that changes. Is you're like Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slav are going to be fine. We've barely talked about those guys. They've scored 1 billion goals this year. They are the reason this team got 106 or points or whatever.
Let me summarize it. Can I summarize it? In the 4 games that we played against Tampa this year, Caulfield, Suzuki, Slavkovsky together have 15 points. The rest of the Montreal Canadiens have 12.
Okay, they're great. They're going to be awesome. The worrying, again, what shifts home versus road are the role players typically. I said it a couple weeks ago. Dobes is going to have to win 2 games on the road.
Yeah.
And he's going to have to steal one of them.
Yeah.
One might not be a steal. One might be like a team win, 26 saves, overtime, whatever. But one will definitely have to be 37 saves in game 1 and they win 2-1 or something, or 4-3, whatever. Like that's what's going to have to happen. Whereas I think if you have the home ice, maybe you don't quite need that. But the part of me that does appreciate the home ice part, it takes just like 10% of pressure off the Habs, and it removes the BS narrative. Not that narratives matter, but like John Cooper is a very savvy coach and he knows how to manipulate Canadian media. And I think Tampa having to go on the road in game 1 and 2 would have been catnip for Cooper to be like, they're the favorites. Look at what they did. We're just coming here to split. Ugh. And that puts a lot of pressure on the Habs in game 1 and 2. Whereas the Habs as the road team, which ultimately is worse, but I don't know, like psychologically, I think it's still better. They're the road team in this series.
That's not a bad take, man. I don't mind that at all. And especially because they've figured out second periods on the road recently. The quick changes make a massive difference. They have to do that. They will lose all 4 games in Tampa, assuming they even get 4 games in Tampa, if they don't quick change on the road, in the second period especially. Because suddenly you're going to get, once again, I'm going to go back to this, you're going to get hemmed in your zone with whatever, Jack-Eye and Carrier on the ice and your third line, and they're going to dance around you for 2 minutes and put the puck in your net, or you're going to take a penalty and then they'll score on the power play. Like it's poison.
I wonder at what point Marty basically says, I'm never not going to have one of Matheson, Hudson, or Gooley on the ice.
Like literally put one of them on each pairing?
Or double shift. Matheson, I believe, has been known to double shift every now and then.
Yeah, I've seen it.
This is the guy who's played 4 straight minutes on a penalty kill. I wonder if it's like by the time you get to the second period of game 4. Game 4, by the way, this is like a basketball take I've had, but it's very accurate for hockey as well. Game 4 is the most important game of the series. It's either 3-0 and the series is already over,
right?
Or it's 2-1 and someone has to win before things get really dark.
Right. Yep.
3-1 versus 2-2 is a huge difference. I feel like there might be a time by game 4 and it's like halfway through the second period and Marty's like, nope, I'm done. It's one of those guys on it every time. I mean, we're going to see shifts get skipped for a Jack-Eye or a Carrier, Struble, whoever. And I wonder if we check the shift log on Natural Stat Trick at one point, if we never see a gap at any point. Maybe they no, if it's an offensive zone faceoff, Hudson will be out there.
Yeah.
But I would be I would not be surprised if that becomes a thing that the Habs like, oh yeah, in the last 26 minutes of game 4, the Habs always had one of, or other than for like 42 seconds, the Habs always had one of Matheson, Gooley, or Hudson on the ice. Just again, from like you were talking about second periods and like, don't want to get that hemmed in thing. Like Marty's like, what if I just take that off the board? Game 2, right? If game 2, anytime there's a 2-day break, play those guys 30 minutes. Sit them out there a little bit longer.
That's fine.
You got to trust them.
Look, I cannot find a fault with that. The chasm that exists between the current top 3, with Dobson out, and the bottom, whatever, 4 or 5, whoever you want to throw in that category, it's a massive chasm. And you have to deal with that whatever way you can. And as the series heats up and things get, and the margins just get narrower and narrower of what mistakes you're able to make without losing a game, it's going to happen. It has to. The same way that I think that Suzuki and Evans, and probably Danault to a certain extent for draws especially, but like Suzuki and Evans are going to be relied upon a stupid amount.
On Phil Danault, quickly, and then we'll rapid fire a couple of these to get to predictions.
Cool.
I do wonder if there was a little bit of saving some gas in the tank for Phil Danault.
Okay.
It's just a guy who has gotten close to a Stanley Cup, who is back in Montreal. That just like circle Dano on the lineup, and just I am not like you do have to limit him to like 14 minutes probably, but I wonder if he has a 17-4 face-off night, plays 16 minutes and has a goal and an assist. Like I feel like there was a bit of like saving juice in the tank and also figuring out like, man, it's an 82 game season. I can't kill myself now at age 34, whatever it is. I got to save some energy for April and May.
Right. Well,
and
dude, the last time these two teams faced each other in the playoffs, who are the three players of the Canadiens that media members, fans, everybody points to and says, that's the reason they got there? Who are the three? And that, you know what, 3 is a bad number because they talk about the big 4 defensemen, but there's one defenseman in particular. There's obviously Carey Price, the goalie, and then there's Phil Danault.
Oh, it's true.
So Pizza Party Danault 2.0 might be right around the corner. Because and that's the other thing too, when you think about that playoff run, one of the pictures that is clear as day in my mind from 5 years ago, holy crap, it's been 5 years. From 5 years ago is Danault eating that slice of pizza with a giant smile on his face.
Yeah, it's good memories. Gonna say. Okay, let's do a couple of these rapid fire.
Cool.
You wrote some of these down. I think these are great questions. How much time until we get our first fight?
Okay, yeah, I put this one in just because I was thinking of the most recent game where there were 126 penalty minutes. And when is Jackie's first shift? Because that's the answer to this question.
Yeah.
5 minutes in?
Yeah. But this is hold on now. You're getting tricked. You're falling into the Tampa trap, Brian. They're not going to want to actually fight.
Yeah, you're right. They won't. Of course not.
They're going to, dangle the gloves. Corey Perry's going to do some nonsense and run away. I don't think they're going to want to actually fight, right? They're going to want to hockey scrum.
Of course,
nonsense.
because the little tennis balls on the bottom of Corey Perry's walker are going to fall off if he tries to fight. Like he doesn't want to. Of course not.
Yeah. You think he has dinner at 4?
Oh my! Of course he does. Of course he does.
A nice chicken soup or something, or he's a tomato soup guy though, probably.
I don't know, man. But to quote Jerry Seinfeld, when he backs up out of his driveway, he doesn't look. He just says, "I'm coming back. I'm old and I'm coming back."
I don't know if there's going to be a fighting game 1. I'd have to double check how long it took for Washington. Game 3 is the big blow up with Wilson and Anderson.
Yeah.
Which I don't even know if they officially counted that as a fight, if our memory serves correct. But
no, I think it was 2 misconducts.
Because
it was intermission and it was on the bench. So
yeah,
how do you? Yeah.
Okay. You have a question on how do you contain Kucherov without Dobson and Carrier. Brian, I'm pretty sure you could have ended this question after how do you contain Kucherov? You didn't have to add the qualifier.
Yeah, for sure. How do you?
You don't.
Yeah, that's the answer.
It's team defense. It's if they're up against the Suzuki line, you have the puck. Best defense is good offense, and Jakub Dobes is great. I had him as MVP. I forget you had him second, third, something. I think you had him third.
I don't remember. Who cares? Second or third?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Top. It was top 4.
Yeah.
He's gonna get his licks off. That's what's gonna happen.
He's just too good.
Deal with it.
You try and hold him to 1, maybe 2 points a game.
That's it. If the series ends in 7 games and Nikita Kucherov has 10 points, that's a win. I'm okay with that. Now, if Anthony Cirelli has 13 points and Brandon Hagel has 7 goals,
that's a problem. Yes, that's right.
But if you're able to contain it to Kucherov has 2 goals and 7 assists, then you're like, okay, but Nick Paul didn't score and Danny Gord didn't score. And I'm like, okay, cool. We contained it.
In terms of the point getting, they're incredibly top heavy.
Yeah.
Incredibly top heavy. It's Kucherov, it's Gensel. Don't forget Gensel. Hagel's good. Cirelli and Point will do some damage. But their bottom 6 ain't doing much. So, but you can't really contain the top. So that was a fast way to answer that question with a resounding nothing you can do. Best of luck to you.
And that's fine. Whoever ends up getting McDavid or for whoever ends up getting McKinnon, you're not going to be like, we're going to shut him down. At least not in the first round.
Yeah. I want to do one of your questions here because I think this might be the most interesting one in the whole list. And we've talked about both of these things quite a bit, but we didn't address this specifically. What bubble is more likely to burst, Dobes or the penalty kill? Because on the Basu Godin notebook recently, I forget which episode, but it was one of the last few, they were talking about how good the penalty kill has gotten and how good Dobes and Fowler, but mostly Dobes, have looked. And they were like, this is very much a chicken egg situation of Is the goaltending better and so the penalty kill looks better? Is it the inverse? You very astutely pointed out Dobson coming back in the place of Carrier, which I hadn't considered, but it's clear as day. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked, but like, what bubble is more likely to burst? Is it Dobes? Is it the penalty kill?
I think it's the penalty kill. I think Dobes has been good enough, and I think his play at 5-on-5 was pretty consistent this year, even before the Marciano hire or again promotion. And that the penalty kill, it's been a shorter stretch where it's been really good. And Carrier is likely coming back, and he's likely to go in there, and we'll see if that actually makes a difference. And I know you and I kind of keep banging the drum on like, it's time to overplay your guys. And there is a risk to that, by the way. Every season, there's a team that goes balls to the wall in the first round and then gets annihilated in round 2. I would argue who gives a damn about what happens in 2.5 weeks. Nick Suzuki.
Yeah, you got to get there first.
I think Nick Suzuki might have to make some appearances on the penalty kill. I think you're going to have Mike Matheson double shifting. Like, so if, and this has been a Marty thing for years now, where it's like, oh, that guy's not this guy. This is hurting me. I'm just not going to play that guy anymore. Goodbye, Justin Barron. Goodbye, Caden Primo. Goodbye, Sam Montembeault.
Yeah.
I'm just not going to like, and I think this is the playoffs, man. Like it always happens. You have guys, defensemen play 6 minutes in a game. The Nashville Predators, the 2017 Predators, we talk about the Habs top four, 2021, the Predators won. Holy smokes. Those guys are all playing 25 minutes a game. Their third pairing with Yannick Weber was playing like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's time, like, we'll see. But I think if one's more likely to burst than the other, it's going to be the penalty kill because I think I do trust Dobes. Having said that, and I feel like we've just kind of like meandered around a lot of these conversations. We haven't really like gone like position by position or anything like that. Dobes Vasilevsky is about as, like, in terms of resume, I don't know if you've ever had a more imbalanced quasi rookie
right
in Jakub Dobes versus the most terrifying goalie the Canadiens and the Habs franchise, quite frankly, has maybe ever gone up against in the past 20, 30 years. This will be only the second time we play Vasilevsky. We know what he did in 21.
Yeah.
He has a Conn Smythe. He has Vezinas. He has 2 cups. He is a killer.
Yeah.
It's something to be pointed out, like, hey, there's a huge discrepancy, and Dobes has been known at times to lose his cool, and you don't expect, even if game 3 happens and Vasilevsky gives up 5 goals, they lose 5-2, he can come back the next night and have a shutout.
Yeah, unquestionably.
So that's another huge Tampa advantage. It is. Like, I don't care what people say. Love Jakub Dobes. He's not Andre Vasilevsky, and Vasilevsky is very much still in his prime.
Still in his prime, and he's one of those goaltenders who rises to giant occasions.
Yeah.
This is not, to once again make Winnipeg fans very sad and mention he's not Hellebuck. He's not going to enter the playoffs and go, wait, what stick? Okay, I hold my paddle with the whatever. I'll figure it out. Yeah. No, Vasilevsky is a machine who is programmed to play playoffs and whose regular season is just preparing and building up to the most important thing. So there's I put on our sheet, like, is there even an outside chance that Dobes could out goalie Vasilevsky? I don't see it. I personally do not see it. I threw in the thing before that both of the wins were versus Vasilevsky and both of our losses were against Johansson, and Dobes won both of the games that he played other than, the one he got pulled, but like, that's regular season shit. This is playoffs. It's Vasilevsky's game, and I trust that if Dobes just plays well, the Canadiens could still win because there are other things to like about this team, and there are other things to dislike about Tampa. They've suffered some losses since 2021, some pretty massive losses in terms of players. Like Hedman's a question mark. There's other examples too, but who cares? There's a world in which Dobes just plays well, and the Canadiens win this series. And Vasilevsky could still be a god, but maybe 4 of those games, 1 of them Dobes steals, and then 3 of them the Canadiens just have incredibly opportune chances and the power plays rolling. Like there's multiple paths to victory here.
The way I see it is like the expectation will be that Vasilevsky will outplay Jakub Dobes. I don't think to use a boxing analogy, like a 10-9 Vasilevsky, which is like, yeah, he's better, but not like worlds better. I don't think that in and of itself would be enough to tip a series.
No.
To Tampa.
No.
Now, if he goes God mode and he gives up 5 goals in 4 games, yeah, we're again swept.
Right.
But if it's more run of the mill, Andre Vasilevsky and Jakub Dobes is, trailing behind him by like 10%, 20%, there's still a chance where the Habs can win that series. And I think vice versa. Like Jakub Dobes will likely, I think, have better stats at the end of this series than Andre Vasilevsky. But again, unless he is stealing games, like 240 save games, I don't think that's going to be enough to swing the series.
No.
Like you said, there's enough weaknesses on both teams. Whether you look at the Tampa power play, whether you look at the Habs at 5-on-5, there's enough strengths on both teams when you look at their 5-on-5 efficiency and Tampa's puck possession and the Habs' most recent penalty kill. And that's actually a good matchup with Tampa's power play. Sorry. There's a lot of other stuff to like swing one way or another where goaltending, this is not, Carey Price in 2014 against Boston, where it's like, yeah, he basically has to be the second coming of Jesus for us to win the series. Or in 2021, quite frankly, that's probably the best example where it's like, no, he has to play like the greatest goaltender that's ever lived for us to stand a chance to beat Vegas.
Yep.
And he did.
In Carey, we trust.
We did.
Yeah.
We still do. I don't think you need that.
No.
And I think like a slight win one way or a slight win the other way, I think it's enough. If one guy goes supernova, I do think it will be enough to swing it, but that's basically true for every playoff series.
Carey Price never had a roster in front of him like the Canadiens currently have. Not even close.
We're not doing Bergevin.
We're not doing Bergevin. No. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we're not in a situation where, like, that's the proof of we're not in a situation where Dobes has to steal the series. Maybe one game, like you said. But he doesn't have to steal a series because there's not a single point per game player. We actually have two of them, and one of them's a 50-goal scorer, and one of them scored 100 points, and a defenseman who's a handful of points behind point per game. Oh, and then a rookie. Oh, and then this, go down the list. There's 5 guys better than the best forward in 2021.
All right, let's jump into our predictions here. Before we give the actual, winner and number of games, we have a question here, Brian. Would losing in 6 be enough growth? I don't like that phrasing. Basically, again, snapshot in time, end of regular season before the postseason starts. What is success for the Montreal Canadiens this playoff?
So I would argue success for the Montreal Canadiens has been met for the season. So I would argue the rest is gravy. This question was more to address like a kind of poetic thing of we lost to Tampa in 5 in the 21 final. We lost in 5 to Washington last year. These are the 2 most recent iterations of Montreal Canadiens in the playoffs. One of them against the very team that you're playing, and one of them was just last season. So just do better than that. That's what I'm saying here, is that if they go to 6 and they lose in 6, I'll still be happy with that. We're still in the midst of a huge growth here where for the next, hopefully 5 to 10 years, every next season is as good or better than the one preceding it. So yeah, that's sort of the idea behind this question here. Do you agree though that like they've already hit a point where the rest is gravy? Do some damage in the playoffs, get some experience. They don't have to win a series for us to not be like, you guys suck. What the hell?
So here's the only issue I take with that is like everything from here on out is gravy, right? Is gravy them getting swept? Because to me, that's a negative. Them losing in 6 is different perception than getting swept in 4 versus winning in 7 versus making a deeper run. The way I see it is they win a playoff round this season is an A+. You cannot say anything else than that.
Yes.
You go back to September, you say, hey man, they're going to get 106 points and win a playoff round. You'll be like, wow, A+, fantastic, no notes. If they get swept, I think it's like a B, like amazing regular season, but like the real test is the postseason. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's the range. They're between a B and an A+ right now. And it's all optics, like losing in 5, losing in 6, winning in 6, winning in 7. But they need to show competitiveness in this series. Like this is the second year now. It's again a more experience. They're going to still play. They're going to be unless they make a deep run this year or even a middling run this year. Next year, if they make the playoffs, guess what we're going to hear? They're playing a more experienced team.
It could be Buffalo, could be Ottawa.
Yeah, Buffalo might make the finals, so they might have their
right. That might be all the experience they need.
But like the point is, like I think there's still a wide enough berth. Like they didn't fail the year. It's not a D or a C. But this is the most important time of the year, man. They need to do something, and it doesn't mean win a playoff round. They can still get like an A letter grade and not win this round. But I think there's still enough of the tests left for them to complete to swing how the season looks to them, if that makes sense.
I agree with you. I think unless they make the conference final, unless they make the final, unless they win the cup. Like, barring those eventualities, it's all about what did you learn? What did you learn during this run? Like, I would argue, even if they got swept, but they learned a bunch of shit, like if they learned how to, if they learned how to not get swept, like, but like, man, I'm not expressing myself well for this idea, but like, even getting swept, if you learn 10 lessons that are going to carry you forward of, okay, that's the mistake I made on that specific play, that might be enough. That might be enough. And I know you disagree. Like, you don't like this gravy thing I keep saying.
I also don't want to get swept by Nikita Kucherov again.
Of course not.
Come back to this for a second?
Yeah.
Like,
no, you know what? I go back on it. Fuck that guy. I go back on it. Kucherov.
2023 Nemesis of the Year was Matthew Tkachuk. 2025 was Tom Wilson. 24 sandwich in there was Nikita Kucherov. The man is ready to take his throne back.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's there. It is I haven't really done any of that digging yet, but like,
no, I haven't either.
Because they're making the playoffs, it's likely going to be someone in blue and white that we're going to put as Nemesis of the Year. Boy, is he ready for it. He hates us. He doesn't like us. We don't like him. We all remember what he said after they won the cup. We're not going to forget it.
Yep.
We remember what he did to, who did he injure? No, it was Sergachev that injured Josh Anderson. Anyway, I'm getting it mixed up.
Well, but Kucherov, Gouli. I'm pretty sure he knocked Gouli from behind pretty aggressively.
Yeah. There's stuff.
Yeah.
There is baggage with
all right,
Kucherov,
I take it all back.
Make it personal.
I take it all back. Game 6 at the very least, guys. Come on. Make game 6.
All right. So let's do this. If the Habs win, Brian, it will be because of blank.
I mean, it's all the stuff we talked about. It's Dobes playing well enough. It's the top line being the best line of the series. And it's the defense and the bottom 9 weathering the storm. Like, because you could talk about also the special teams, but that to me is a little more unpredictable. So I'll just speak to the 5-on-5 stuff. I think it's that.
Slavkovsky, Demidov, Dobes. Those are my guys. I have no doubts in Suzuki and Caulfield.
Right.
Slavkovsky being the third guy, where it's like, yep, that's the 4th straight shift where they're in the offensive zone for 90 seconds, wear down the Lightning, and they score a second goal in 4 minutes. It's Slav. Slav is the guy that does that. Demidov having any type of success means there's a second line gunning, and then Jakub Dobes has to be a guy. He has to be a guy in the series for them to win it.
How about, let's throw one more guy into this, and I'm not going to use a name because I don't know who it is. One of the defensemen who we don't believe in has to step up and become the 4th. Can Reinbacher play so well in games 1 and 2 on the road that Marty goes, here, man, take 22 minutes?
Well, he's not playing until game 6. We already covered this in the first half hour.
Yeah, I know.
I'm kidding.
A guy can dream.
About Reinbacher, we haven't talked about his debut. I liked it for the most part. I think he's a little too loose exiting with the puck out of the defensive zone. There's just some moments where it's like, you why is the puck 8 inches from your stick? Like, I mean, on the stick, tape the puck.
NHL to AHL, like everybody talks about the AHL like it's right under the NHL. Speed-wise, it really isn't. You have 0 time in the NHL. You don't have time to think. So he's used to being able to dilly-dally. And I know the AHL is a great league. It is the second best league in the world. But like, there's a massive difference in the amount of time and space that you have. So I think it's just that. He'll adapt. I'm not worried.
If they lose, Brian, it will be because blank.
The same poor elements creep back in. The lapses in coverage in the defensive zone where a guy can sneak in. That's the main one for me. A lack of discipline because Corey Perry gets under your skin and because Kucherov gets under your skin, and Vasilevsky being a god. Those are the 3.
Power play goes cold. Andrei Vasilevsky terrorizes our dreams.
Yeah.
If those 2 things happen, we're getting cooked in 5.
I don't see the power play going cold, man. I think they've been intentionally crappy lately.
Sure.
To make it like
all the Marty's playing.
Yeah.
Don't figure out the power play or the bottom 9, which is like 2/3 of the hockey game at this point.
What's Cooper gonna do if we don't even know what we're doing? No.
All right, here we go, Brian. It's time to do it. Last year, we remember I said Caps in 6. You said Habs in 7. You went first last time, so to respect flipping back and forth, I'll go first this time.
Okay, I appreciate that.
If you were giving me, and this is the last time, that's a lie. I was going to say it's the last time I'm doing this bit, but I'm going to do it at least 4 more times this year. If you were giving me last year's bottom 6 with this year's everything else, including a healthy Noah Dobson, I take the Habs.
Heineman, Armia, hell yeah, dude, of course.
I take this in a walk.
Wow.
That's not where we are though. We are down our, I would say, no worse than 5th most important player. You can maybe argue Dobes ahead of Dobson, but I think he's top 5 Dobson. We have the first line and Hudson in whatever order you feel like, but Dobson's in there. The bottom 6 the whole year, Marty has been searching. I think the recent blending has been kind of a show of desperation of like, what am I going to do here? I've liked what Marty's done in terms of like Gallagher's quote unquote resting, and he's flipping guys in and out of the lineup, and he clearly trusts XCA. Like there's stuff there that's working. I don't know if Marty's going to figure that out enough. So, and then the top 6 on Tampa Bay, it absolutely terrifies me. It is what I hope, what I'm saying right now is what I hope other people say about the Habs top 6, 12 months from now, 24 months from now, when you look at the Habs in a matchup and you're like, Christ, that top 6.
Yeah. How do
Absolute
we match
animals.
that up? Yeah.
That's what we said about Washington last year. There's a pattern here, man.
Yep.
You need to have 6 killers in your top 6. And then a bunch of guys are going to beat the crap out of you in your bottom 6. It's not rocket science. Right. All that to say, and I'm sorry to say it, Tampa Bay in 7.
Okay. I mean, I'm surprised because I was getting nervous that you were going to steal my prediction and I would have to scramble. I'm saying 6. That's the other reason that I said would losing in 6 be enough growth. Because I'm coming right back around to that number. I think it's Tampa in 6. And so I'm putting my heart aside. I think the more experienced team with the best goalie in the world takes it. And I think the Habs will put up a hell of a fight. I think the top line will look amazing. They just don't have the depth this year, and the injury to Dobson is a massive blow. Massive blow.
Yep, I agree. But the game is not played on podcast waves. It is played on the ice. Series starts 0-0. Game 1 starts 0-0 as far as I know. They're going to play the games. We'll see. Look, we go back to last year. Game 4 was up for grabs, and then it's the Wilson hit on Carrier that annihilates him. They score a goal that flips the game. Yep. It basically ends the series. Again, game 4. Game 4 is super important.
It's 3-1 versus 2-2. That's literally what happened.
And you could say the Caps were slowly breaking down the Habs, and that they were also slowly figuring out the Habs at 5-on-5. And they couldn't stop the power play in that series. But there were moments in that series where, I mean, game 2 was really close. And like game 3, wasn't game go to overtime? Terrible memory with this stuff. But like these series are close, and Habs lost in 5. Only one of those games I think I recall not. I think it was game 5, which was not necessarily that close. Every other game was pretty tight in the losses, and they blew Washington out in game 3. What the Bell Center can do in terms of a home ice advantage, I don't know, because that building gets nervous in the playoffs. Maybe this team's different.
So I'm gonna push back on that right away. There's nothing anxiety-inducing about this current iteration of the Canadiens. From the head office, general manager, president of hockey ops, all the way down, I have absolute confidence. Like I think the fan base recognizes that. Do you not feel different about this team, this version of the Montreal Canadiens than you did 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Like I know we know the game better now too, so there's that. But like just in terms of,
I don't know, man.
A head office
that's enough
to sway Canadiens fans to not like.
I've been to enough playoff games at the Bell Center, man. It's a that crowd gets anxious real fast. And maybe you're right. Maybe having Cole Caulfield be there, but I think they need to see them do it. They need to see them win game 6 to close out or to force a game 7. Which means I don't think it happens in this series where the Bell Center starts to, this is going to sound so corny, but to believe. Now, if they're up 2-0 and it's game 3 and it's 1-1 in overtime, I still think they're nervous, but they have more juice. Okay, but I think there needs to be a moment where the Habs, like where it's Caulfield or Suzuki or Demidov or Slav, plant the flag and be like, okay, we are contenders. That can happen in the next 2 weeks. There's an emphatic win. It doesn't have to be at home, but like there's an emphatic like game 5 overtime win. Or game 4. Like what if they're up 2-1 in the series, go to game 4, game 4 is an OT, series on a dime, OT goal. It's obviously Caulfield.
Of course.
That's planting the flag. Hey, we're here. You got to close out still. But like, so those moments are there. I just don't think the Bell Center crowd for the last 30 years is able to like flip a switch in the playoffs and say, we got the juice. They're just not. Now, if they had the 2021 playoff series with a full crowd, maybe, but they didn't. It was COVID crap.
That's true, man. That's the huge shame of it, is that when the team finally got going, there was no one there to witness it.
Yeah. So,
but There will be this year. And now the team's getting going with an actual incredible rebuild behind them. Something that we've never seen. You and I as 30-something-year-olds.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. We're going to be here to watch it. Let's very, very, very quickly, Brian, run through the East and then give our finals predictions.
Sure. Sounds great.
Boston Buffalo, who you got?
How do you not pick Buffalo?
Got to be Buffalo.
Like, I know they're new, but man. Too much skill, too much physicality. It's Buffalo.
Yeah, and I've found Boston to be an inconsistent team this year. And now if they're hot, they're on one, and Pavel Zacha's chucking in a bunch of goals like he was a week and a half ago. Sure. Otherwise, okay. Battle of Pennsylvania, Philly, Pittsburgh. Who you got?
First of all, incredible matchup. Philly's been playing some really good hockey recently. I can't pick a team that has, like, I have to pick Crosby, basically. I can't.
Okay.
I can't go up against Sid the Kid.
I wonder how much Pittsburgh downshifting might affect them at the beginning here, because they really
totally.
They locked into 2 and they didn't do anything the last week of the season. Porter Martone is an X factor. He's damn good.
Yeah,
Holy.
he is.
I think I'm gonna pick Philly in that series. I think Dan Vladar is playing some damn good hockey.
I do think that's the smarter bet, by the way.
Sure. It's a coin toss, that series.
Yeah.
Yeah. The series no one's going to watch. Carolina, Ottawa.
It's Carolina. Of course it's Carolina. They have to get through one round before disappointment.
At least. Man, Ottawa's playing good hockey.
They are, but what happens when the goaltender shits the bed in game 2? And they go,
3.
oh, right, we don't have anybody back there.
Yeah. I think this is a long series, man. We haven't been doing like number of games on these because whatever, who cares? But like, I think Ottawa's going to put some scare into Carolina. It might be like, they push it to game 6 and game 6 is a 4-0 Carolina win or something stupid. But like, I think there's going to be a little fright put into Carolina. Okay. And then you want to give me your East final, your West final? West final is a bit hard considering we are recording this before the West bracket is set. So maybe we just do Cup final, winner, and Conn Smythe.
Yeah. Okay. Cup final, like in terms of a path, the Avalanche have been gifted the fact that the Stars and Wild are going to be playing each other initially, and just that's going to be a bloodbath. And I think they walk through whoever comes out of there. I don't think that any other team in the West is even remotely close to the Avalanche. I think it's the Avs, at the risk of just being like, they're the best team in the league. Obviously, it's them. It's the Avs. In the East, who's the matchup? It might be the Sabres. It might realistically be the Sabres, man.
I'd love that. I mean, I'd prefer it to be the Canadiens, obviously, but like, if I'm trying to speak a bit objectively and a bit, hedging my bets, I think Dallas-Buffalo rematch.
Whoa.
From the foot of the crease.
Whoa. That's cool. Was
Yeah.
that 2000? 99 or 2000?
I think 99.
Wow.
Let's bring Dominic Hasek back for puck drop on game 1.
Hell yeah.
Which I wouldn't have to double check. I guess game 1 would be in Buffalo. That'd be wild.
109
here's
points.
the thing.
No, Dallas,
has
112.
Okay, well, game 3. We can have Mike Modano do game 1. This is the thing. Dallas has Colorado's number, and I just keep coming back to that. So unless Minnesota can flip the script a bit, I need to see it's Brady zone. I haven't brought up Brady zone in a long time. I need to see Colorado beat Dallas before I will ever pick Colorado beating Dallas. For people who are unaware of what I'm talking about, the Brady zone I got to a point where I just always assumed Tom Brady was going to win, and I would not believe he was going to lose until he actually lost. The Dallas Colorado is Brady zone. So,
and if I recall, it was your Eagles that did it.
Yeah, you're welcome, planet Earth. So the Pacific pillow fight, like, who cares? Like, whatever, man. I guess like I wish the Ducks were coached by someone else so I could root for them, but I won't. So go Oilers. But it's one of Dallas, Colorado, most likely, unless Minnesota can do something, which I don't trust Gustafsson or Wallstad. Like, that team is the most likely to flip goalies by game 3 of all the 16 teams making the playoffs is Minnesota, because they have no idea who their starting goalie is.
I mean, that's good, and
so,
it like you're coming at it from a that's bad perspective, but they have 2 decent goalies. Like, I wouldn't mind having that. We kind of do as well. There's one guy we trust more because the other one's a kid, but
yeah. So
I think I'm biased because I have one of them in our pool, which concludes tonight. Best of luck, sir.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'll whatever. Go Buffalo. Buffalo over Dallas, and give me Rasmus Dahlin, Conn Smythe.
Oh.
It never goes to a defenseman. I'm just saying random stuff. We've been recording for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Okay. No, Tage Thompson, man.
I'm not picking an American.
All right. Jeez.
That's my take there. I was trying to find a Canadian in my head. I couldn't.
I mean, it could be
Luukkonen?
It could be McCarr. It could be McKinnon. It could be not in your iteration, in mine. Where Avalanche are there, but yeah. I don't know. It's been a funky year. Just looking, like, I'm looking at the standings right now to get some context in terms of what the matchups might look like in the West. What a funky year. Like 39 points separating the Avs from the Kings in the West, and then like 24 between the Sens and Hurricanes in the East. The East was so tight. The West was so dispersed. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah. So you have Colorado over Buffalo. I have Buffalo over Dallas. We both have Tampa taking out the Habs in round one. Long series on both ends. But I think hopefully there was enough discussion in here to show that there's avenues, certainly, for this Habs team to pull off an upset. I don't care what anyone says. It would be an upset. Now, it's not David and Goliath. Like, we can calm down on that. But it would certainly be an upset. The more experienced team with home ice losing to the younger up-and-coming team.
Yeah, you mean the one that's been to the final several times, that's won a few cups? Yeah, they're the favorite. Anybody saying different than that is silly.
Out in the first round 3 straight years, though.
Yeah, okay.
We'll see.
Go Habs, go.
Let's wrap it there. This has been one of our longer episodes of the year. For what Brian and I were targeting for 45 minutes of recording, by the way. We have effectively doubled that.
Well, you know what? It's high time we do something for our fans. Every time we set ourselves up, we're going to record an hour, and we only record like 45 minutes. So it's about time that we go long.
We've never done that before on the history of this.
No, never.
This show. All right. Well, look, we'll wrap it there. We'll be back, like we said at the beginning, like 7 hours ago when we started recording. Post games, that's what we're going to be doing. 20-ish. Again, I've said if we lose, the episode's probably going to be 20 minutes. If we win, it's probably going to be half an hour. Brian?
One thing. Shoot, I forgot. Okay, if the Habs go to the end, who's the Conn Smythe winner? Like, say a Conn Smythe winner comes from the Canadiens. We live in that reality for this season. Who is it?
It's Nick.
Okay, I was going to say that too. Honorary mention to Slav, but it is Captain Nick.
It is. I think you had a prediction. I think we've done very many random drafts and things, and I think you have had a Slav Conn Smythe at some point.
I did, definitely. Because he's the type of player that wins them. He just is.
He is.
He's a playoff guy.
And I think this is like 3 years from now, but Slav will have a 17 goals, 9 assists postseason.
But
and he will lift the Conn Smythe.
A silky Suzuki who also puts up well over point per game. That's a Conn Smythe winner if I've ever seen one. All right, you can wrap now. Sorry. Just
there
had to
we
throw
go.
that
Okay. Follow us at Habsland Pod on social media if you like what you hear. Leave a 5-star rating. Follow us on Spotify. All that fun stuff. And until the end of game 1, go Habs.